pandemonium. Use my fangs to murder ya. Yo soy la diosa, los demonios no me controlan. Soy culebra.
All right, what's up, everyone? This is your host, Octoberz. Welcome to another episode of Nightmare on Sedgwick Avenue. This is season 5, episode 10 already. And this season, I'm going to kind of make a little bit longer. It's going to be probably like 15 episodes instead of the 10. But today we have a really cool guest. I met her at the SD Latino Film Festival. I volunteered, and I got to see her film, which I've been anticipating since last year. For those that have been following me on Instagram, I posted about it. It's called Huesera, also known as the Bone Woman. And she's a director and writer, and her name is Michelle Garza Cervera. And I'll put her on the screen here now. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, hi Gabby. I'm
Hi.
so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you as well. And you're like so down to earth, which I really like. And just to get started here, how did you where did your passion for like making movies and like cinema like come from?
Yes, I think it was since I was very little. I was very playful, I guess. I had the luck to have parents that were in art. They were furniture makers, and I grew up in a home where I felt very free, I guess. Like I was writing and drawing all the time. And then when I found cinema when I was 15 or something like that, I fell in love with it. I was very fascinated watching 20 films a week or something, very obsessed, especially with queer and horror cinema. I guess those were my biggest inspirations when I started.
Yeah.
And yes, I guess because it really allows you to investigate, if that makes sense, or dissect common life or like everyday living in a special way. It kind of gives you a tool. I feel like fiction gives you this tool to validate so many emotions and processes that we go through that are very hard to speak sometimes.
That's true. Yeah, I agree with that. And in particular, the film that we're going to talk about at Huesera is obviously a horror film, which this is my podcast. I love horror. So where did your love for horror, where did it come from as well? Like, did it come around the same time that you fell in love with cinema too, or how did that come about?
Yes. I was also very much into punk music and playing guitar. And then I also later played in bands.
Okay.
And I think it came with a whole rebellious kind of love that I had, for all the rebellious content, both in music and cinema. Like I kind of wanted, I was very attracted to all those kind of narratives that broke the expected, authorial or prestigious kind of film. Like I was really wanted always to go into the outskirts of all that.
Yeah.
And I really felt that horror, as I was mentioning, and especially horror, I think it really allows you to inspect aspects of life or society that are hard to speak about, everything that is kind of a uncomfortable, it allows you to speak about all those uncomfortable conversations that sometimes we don't want to have, and then for 2 hours, you go into the cinema and we have this freedom to speak about all that is denied. And I think that's very powerful. And I also feel like it can be used for anything, to say many things, but then it can also be used in a very radical way to make a point on your personal life or society or ideas that you have that are it would be hard or to do with an argument or with a fight. I feel like fiction really, and especially horror, allows you to talk about those aspects.
Yeah, I agree. I think I watched this cool documentary. I think it's like Red, White, and Blue or something like that, and it's about horror. How it just kind of, you watch horror films from the beginning to now, it tells you where we were in that era. It's kind of like a history book, because they'll tell you when you were talking about Godzilla, it was the time where it was the atomic bombs, all these different. So it was really cool that you mentioned
wow.
That. Right.
I love that. And you know what? Another quick aspect of it is that I feel like it allows me to every aspect of personal fears or that mind that doesn't never stop.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm very lucky that I found a media that I can put all those nightmarish aspects of myself and my mind into it. So my therapist always says that, oh, good thing that you found horror films, because you kind of put all that there, and that's very it kind of charges me with freedom in many senses too.
Yeah, it's therapeutic kind of as well, huh?
Yes.
Um, and I was looking kind of like at your trajectory, like as a filmmaker, and I saw that you've done shorts like in the genre, like as far as like Mexico Bárbaro Dos, Isósceles, La Rabia de Clara y Abismal. So obviously you love working in the genre. How has it been like working on those type of films?
Honestly, like very fun. Like it's like it was a long path. I started my first short. I had some before those
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't. I mean, they were more like exercises, but they were also horror.
Uh huh.
And first of all, I kind of felt free because I was not trying to follow any expectations from professors or classmates. I was really trying to follow my gut.
Uh huh.
So no, it's not only horror. They're very weird or experimental shorts, some of them. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I was lucky in the sense that I did gave me the chance to experiment and break all the rules with
Mm-hmm.
my shirts and really kind of build a sense of community as well. Like I
Yeah.
really love being on set and I started to understand like how it works. And I feel like horror on set is very fun as well, like trying to build all those like mystery or suspense or like horrific scenes is also very fun to build with a team of friends.
Yeah.
um so it's been really like a long path, more than 10 years, but I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I'm very grateful because I the shorts did gave me kind of my personal, like the chance to understand what was my personal path or how I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to direct, because I feel like I was kind of finding my voice and I gave
Yeah.
me that chance to do it. Yeah.
That's cool. That's really inspirational because I'm kind of working on my first short horror film, so that makes me like feel like inspired that like it's okay to not know where you want to go yet until you kind of experiment a little bit.
Exactly. You have, I feel like doing shorts is really the good path. It's like the path to understand yourself and how do you want to work.
Yeah.
And I also feel like short films are give you some freedom that unfortunately sometimes feature films don't allow, because it comes with so much money and it's difficult.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah. And obviously we want to talk about Huesera, which is the film that you've been running through the festivals, and I really loved it. I enjoyed it. Um, and it talks about it's like you said, it's cool because you use horror to talk about something like really that women deal with. Not everybody, if you decide not to be a mother, but you talk about maternity, like your sexual identity too, like maybe not knowing what you really want and just being kind of like as a woman. Society puts all these different things like since you're born kind of like, oh, like pink is for girls and blue is for boys, and then you're supposed to get married and you're supposed to have kids. And sometimes people are like, women are pressured into that type of role, right? So that's what I love about this film, that you kind of touch on a little bit of all those different topics. How did it come about, like the story for Huesera?
Like I was really inspired first in my mom and my grandmother, like
Mm-hmm.
trying to see their lives and understanding them as like people, like persons, like complete persons, or how do you say, like oh my God, I forgot the word. Like like beings, like human beings separated from me and from the fact that I'm their daughter or their granddaughter, like trying
Uh-huh.
to see like how much aspects of their identity or their lives they hide in order to feel or fulfill a role or expectations, because really
Yeah.
motherhood comes with so much sacrifices. And of course I started realizing also my personal life, like
Mm-hmm.
we're women in the ages of um like where society is asking you so all the time if you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to be a mother, if you're going to be a mother, like both aspects
Mm-hmm.
are terrifying, like there's so much expectations and from us of the paths to follow in life that were supposed to be happiness for women, that are very terrifying if you kind of like part away from those.
Yeah.
So I was very inspired, and also it was not only myself, we were a big team, predominantly, how do you say,
Oh,
like most of us,
predominantly? Yeah.
I can't say
Yeah.
that word, but like most of us, we were women,
Uh-huh.
and so many of them were also mothers, like starting from the main actress. So there were a lot of talks. Like there's so much. I mean, it's really not a surprise that there's so much films about motherhood and especially
Yeah.
horror, because we all come from a womb.
Mm-hmm.
Parenthood crosses every human being, and it's such a systematic how do you say, like it's such a systematic expectation from every human being
Yeah.
that comes with so much silences and uncomfortable places to speak about that. That's it's not like for teachers, that we're all wanting to inspect those same things from different
Yeah.
areas, because it crosses all of our lives, and it's really, there's so much hidden behind those themes. Like there's still so much path to follow in order to really have safe spaces, in order to be able to
Mm-hmm.
speak about how these themes as maternity or domesticity crosses our lives. And I think it's a really perfect for horror. That's why there's so much maternal horror around.
Yeah, no, and I can relate, even though I'm not like a mother or anything, but I can relate on the aspect of like being pressured. I think coming from also like a Latino household where like, oh, it's like you're in your 30s, it's like it's almost late for you to have kids, And then I was like, well, I don't even want to have kids, and it's like I didn't. I'm kind of glad that I finally don't feel the pressure anymore. Like I came to like a conclusion for myself. Is like I don't want to have kids. And it's okay, like because I think a lot of people is like make you out to be like, oh, you don't want to be a mom, like, and I'm like, no, I mean, there's other ways too. There's adoption later on, if I decide to go that route. So it's cool to see like a movie based on something like that. That's part of our lives as women.
Yeah. Thank you. And it's a difficult conversations to have at
Mhm.
home, but
Mhm.
sometimes when you have them, you realize that actually everyone was holding their real feelings. So it's kind
That's
of
true.
very, it comes with a lot of freedom to be able to try to stop judging, and maybe hearing
Mhm.
the other ones and being like, oh, actually we were all afraid of talking about the same thing, and I
Yeah.
think it's great to actually have those conversations.
Yeah, and that's great about your film too. That it kind of opens it up for that kind of conversation because people are watching it. Maybe a mom and a daughter are watching it together, and then it kind of opens up that conversation to be like, oh, this is
Yeah.
right. Like,
Totally. I've had actually many women like in their 40s, 50s that are already mothers approaching me after
hmm
watching the film to say thank you, which is
yeah, that's
which is
cool.
very impressive, because like they're not the normal horror audience, but they're
Yeah.
watching the film as well, and to me that's awesome. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and even being open minded too. Like my mom too. Like she loved it, and she is a horror fan, but not really anymore because she gets scared. But she's the one that kind of got me into horror, which is funny. But she loved it, and she's like, the good thing she's super open minded too. So she was like, even with the scene, like I don't want to give out too much about the movie who haven't seen it, but the scene between like Octavia and Valeria, like with the love
Yeah.
that they had for each other. Uh, it was crazy how like like these characters they were kind of forced to go their own paths, but in reality they wanted to be together, but for some reason or the other like society kind of pushed them apart. So I love that story too. um
Yeah.
and how did the name Huesera come from? I know you mentioned it, I think, in when we somebody asked that in the Latino Film Festival, but for those listening in today, like what was the name behind the meaning of the name?
Yes, there's like the two aspects to it, but that actually makes sense, because there's a legend which is not really well known, not
Mhm.
so known as La Llorona, but it's called La Huesera, and
Mhm.
it's more like, actually it's a border story. It's like between the U.S. and Mexico, in the desert story,
Okay.
about an elder woman that digs out bones from the desert and puts together
Mhm.
a skeleton, and
Uh-huh.
then through a ritual sets that entity free, and it really
Oh,
speaks
okay.
about looking or finding, going through those processes of finding those pieces of yourself that sometimes we don't want to look at, or that are hidden, or that we are avoiding. It's kind of like having the strength to go through that difficult or painful process. And it speaks about bones, which I loved, and I thought it
Mhm.
was perfect to build that aspect to the identity of the film, to
Mhm.
talk about bones as the deepest parts of ourselves, and the sense of a woman that feels that something is breaking her apart,
Yeah.
and taking her to the breaking point of having to look to her at herself, and
Yeah.
and it really made sense. And also Huesera are the kind of shamans or curanderas that help you, like they massage your body and they crack your bones. They help you for different, like dolencias, like
Mhm.
different pains or
Yeah.
sicknesses, like that you go with them, and this is kind of like a doctor as well.
Yeah.
So it really made sense as well, because it's also what happens with the entity of the film.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm over here. That's deep. I love that's the reason for the name. Because at first I was trying like to think of like a theory of what it was, and at first I told my mom it's like maybe like because death in Spanish le llaman la huesuda, so I was like maybe it has to do with death or something. But I was like I was way off.
Well, no, but I think it makes sense a little bit. If
Yeah,
you don't if you don't hear that Huesera, you can reach that definitely.
yeah. And then I know it's probably giving away a scene, but I kind of wanted to know because everybody interprets it differently. But one of the scenes is when Valeria like sees herself. It's like after the ritual that she's trying to get rid of the entity. And she's kind of burning, right? And then it turns like this person is kind of like wearing like a blanket, but it kind of looks like the Virgin Mary. I don't know if that was intentional. And then she turns around and it's herself looking at herself, right? So for me, after you said what you said during the questions that we were asking, you said it was kind of like when you become a mother, like a part of you kind of dies and you become a brand new person. So is that kind of like the significance of that scene, or what do you wanted to do with
Yes.
that scene?
Well, like the film starts with the Virgin of Guadalupe,
Yes.
and I feel like it really speaks about the concept of motherhood, of that role that you're supposed to
Yeah.
fulfill,
Uh
like
huh.
that expected perfect woman, caring, like sacrificial woman, that is always gonna be perfect. The thing is that that goal is kind of unreachable because it's really
Mm.
unhuman. It denies so many aspects of women and their real identities. So I
Yeah.
feel like in order to fulfill that expectation, women
Mm-hmm.
let go so many personal aspects of their lives,
Yeah.
and to me it was kind of Valeria realizing that and letting that dream go, and understanding
Okay.
that she can't fulfill that, and she has to let that go in order to go and see what's going on really with herself, in order to attend her personal life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I love that scene, by the way. It was really cool the way you guys filmed that.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you. It was very fun to film as well. And it's really, yeah, like it's the
uh-huh.
colors of the Virgin of Guadalupe blanket.
Okay, that's what I thought
Um
because I was like, I feel like it was like a homage to like the Virgin Mary, like you said. So I was like,
yes,
okay,
yes, yes,
yeah.
totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And how was it to film that? Like with the burning flame? Did you guys have like a stunt double to do that, or?
Yes, we had a stunt double and we
Okay,
had a very fun team of
yeah,
special effects. And yeah, it was real. It was real fire, the whole thing. We were very precautious, of course.
uh huh,
And it was very fun. It was like it was very intense. It was a very long filming day as well.
yeah,
So we had to do it very quick, but and we also had only two shots because we only had two blankets.
yeah.
But it came out great. Yeah.
That's cool. And in we talked a little bit about it, but in the movie, it's a lot of like magic and shamanism and all that stuff, which I really love. And you make it in a positive light too. Is what I loved because a lot of the times in movies they make it seem like it's bad. But like you said at the Latino Film Festival, it's kind of something ordinary in Mexico where like you're feeling sick, you don't really go to the doctor. You go to either like a shaman or somebody that can make you como una limpieza.
Yeah.
So where did that come from? Like that inspiration to show them on a positive light.
Because I feel like many times that those kind of characters are actually very loving. They're just
Mm-hmm.
trying to help you out, and difference from sometimes your closest people, even your family. Like they're telling you you're crazy,
Yeah.
everything that you're feeling is not really happening, but then you feel it that it's really going on. And there's these people that actually hear you. They can be curanderas, but they can also be other women or persons in your life that
Mm-hmm.
have really gone through those kind of breaking points,
Yeah.
and that are on this other side,
Uh-huh.
and that are able to hear you and to listen to you and believe you, and I feel that's a
Exactly.
very loving aspect to that. And I actually, exactly, like I really wanted to show these kind of characters that usually represent evil
Mm-hmm.
or like the dark sides of humanity, when I actually
Yeah.
think they could be the other side completely. They can be freedom for in another aspect,
Yeah.
so I thought it was great to have these kind of curanderas that
Yeah.
actually were kind of like the most loving characters in the film.
No, I agree. I love that. And during your filming too, like, did you witness anything like paranormal, anything like creepy at all, like while filming? Because I know sometimes when doing horror films, sometimes things happen. Did anything like that happen at all?
Well, just during the ritual scene, like with the three curanderas and the actress, they were all very. It was a very intense film to the scene to film, and they were all working from very intimate and emotional places. So there was a lot of like you could feel like there was like a very sacred ambient or
like
atmosphere, that energy,
Okay.
And that day the only thing that happened is during a shot that is actually in the film, like it was a very algid moment because Gina Moret, which she's like a very legendary actress in Mexico, she was turning on the leaves on the floor with the fire, and that moment something outside like happened, that one big like wood tabla fell on top of a light, so we all went completely dark inside of the room, and it was very intense. It felt like something creepy happened, like if we like liberated something there, but that was the only thing really.
Okay. And were the rituals like were they real, like as far as like where you guys got them and how they were done, or is something kind of you guys just made up for the film?
Well, we did an investigation, and we have a close friend that she knows a lot about shamanism. And so many of the aspects of the ritual were designed from real aspects of shamanic traditions, but then of course at the same time we edited it and we changed some parts of it for the specificities of the film, but like for example, there were certain aspects of the real rituals that would have taken 10 minutes to do, and we didn't have 10 minutes just for that. So we kind of like made it all more quick than what it is, but it's like the kind of movements, the how do you say, like the tools and like the materials, they were all like inspired in real rituals. But then like the music was composed by the music composers of the film, so that was not from the rituals.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And then what I love about the film, like I said, it's like you interwove like the Mexican culture into it. Obviously, because you're from Mexico, and I love to see that in horror films. Like, how important is that to you, like to showcase like in your films, like your culture?
I think it's very important also because this is where we grew up. Like, I mean, if you grew up in a Mexican family as well, there's like, that's how we live our lives, right? Like that's how we live, and that's how we know how to narrate, because that's what we know. And it's very sad sometimes when we don't see so much representations of the way we live on our cities or on our families, our homes. And I felt like we were just trying to be very just and to give justice to and representation to what we knew, and not try to portray another kind of living, like trying to fulfill like Hollywood films in a film that is actually from Mexico City. Like we were like, no, like there's so much richness here and so much stories to tell from our perspectives, from what is surrounding us every day. So why don't we just tell our story from there, And so I think it's very important, and I wonder why it doesn't happen more.
Yeah, I know, but I love it. Like, and I was gonna ask you, that's my next question. Like, do you have any more like? I know you mentioned that you love the genre. You want to continue to make more films. So, is there any new projects that you can share that you're working on right now?
Yes, of course. I'm actually right now working, and that's why I was such in a rush. And we're about to film the next film in October. And it's also a horror film, and it's also gonna be filmed in Mexico. It's gonna be weird. Weird. I feel like it's kind of like a weird tale, and it might have some kind of cosmic horror aspects to it. But I'm really trying to just hear my guts. I'm also writing it with my same co-writer as Huesera, Avia Castillo, and we really like our producers, which the production company is called Piano, because they're giving us a lot of freedom, and they really support experimentation and breaking the rules. So I think that's very exciting, and that's the one that is coming. And we also have an adaptation of a short story from an Argentinian, an amazing writer, Mariana Enriquez. I don't know if you know her. No. But if you haven't read her, you should, because she's a horror writer from Argentina, and she's fantastic. And her short story, that Summer in the Dark, is that one that we're doing the adaptation, and that's also we're doing also the adaptation to Mexico City as well. So those are two, and maybe sooner maybe soon I will go to the US as well to direct something over there, but let's see.
Okay, perfect. That's so cool. Yeah, I'm excited for that. And if you need any help or anything, I'm always like down to help for anything. I know I'm not in Mexico, but whatever I can help. Uh,
Of course, thank.
and before we get out of here, I wanted to ask you one last question, if I can. I think you might have froze. So you still there? Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
Sorry.
here. I'm here.
Sorry.
Yes,
Okay. Froze
I
for a
can hear
second.
you well.
I know you only
Yeah,
got like 2 minutes.
it's my internet. It's very
Okay.
bad. Sorry.
No worries. I know we got like 2 minutes left. So before we get out of here,
Don't
I'd like
worry.
to ask this question. And what's your like top five like horror films of all time?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay, I would have to say Alien.
Okay.
Uh, Don't Look Now.
Okay.
Jacob's Ladder. I love it.
Okay.
I love Possession.
Okay.
And let me think. Let me think. I would say, hmm. I'm looking at my films right now. Maybe Drag Me to Hell. I really love it.
Oh, I love that film. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, and then just this last one. Like what type of legacy would you want to leave behind, either in film or on a personal level?
Wow, that's amazing. You know, it's crazy to know, and I didn't know when I was starting that I'm just the second like Mexican female director to
Mm-hmm.
make a commercially released horror
Oh,
film.
wow.
You know,
Congrats.
yes, it's only before me. There's Isa Lopez with Tigers Are
Oh,
Not
yes.
Afraid, which I really admire.
Mm-hmm.
So that means a lot, you know, and I now see a lot of filmmakers like you and coming also from Mexico and other places in Latin America that
Uh-huh.
I feel like they are inspired by Huesera. So
Yeah.
that inspires me as well. You know, that was like, oh,
Yeah.
that made sense to have done this film in our own way, with
Yes.
following our instincts, without trying to fulfill any expectations from, you know, big production companies or platforms. You know, that we were just really a team of most of us doing our first film,
Yeah.
and that's something that you can do, and that I want people and other filmmakers to realize that you can do it as well. You know, if we did it, you can do it.
Yeah.
So I love that, and I feel I want to continue being able to do what I my instinct dictates to me. You know, I'm trying
Yeah.
to never fulfill or never work to fulfill others expectations, you know, like it's,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel that's the path to follow to be happy, I guess. I mean, at
Yeah.
least, not, I don't know if happy, but at least with peace of mind.
Yes, yes. No, well, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed talking to you, getting to know you, and talking about your film.
Likewise.
And yeah, and thank you. Keep doing it. You're inspiring a lot of people. Like I said, you inspired me, and I'm pretty sure you've already gotten a lot of great feedback, and you guys got an awards too. So congrats with that.
Thank you, Gabby.
And yeah, keep me posted on any new projects. I would love to have you back whenever you have those ready.
Thank you so much, and I really love meeting you back in San Diego. I'm very happy that we
Yes.
met and this happened afterwards. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, take care, and I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Bye
Alrighty.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
That was Michelle um, Garza Cervera, from director and writer of Huesera, aka The Bone Woman. Hope you guys really dug this episode. I really love talking to her. She's really inspirational, especially for me as an upcoming filmmaker. And yeah, so if you liked it, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you have, please go ahead and do me a favor and follow Michelle Garza Cervera, and it's M Garza Cervera, which will be in the description. And yeah, like, share, comment, all that on this video will be appreciated. It helps my channel and to get around. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys dug the episode. Peace.